Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with this channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it's called Uncommon Sense, because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. So I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I also need to let everybody know that the subscriber mode has been enabled for 5 minutes, meaning if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you will need to be a subscriber for at least 5 minutes. I also have another YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora, where I discuss issues pertaining to Latinos residing in the United States. There is a link to that channel in the description. First of all, I just want to give a huge shout out to all those who have already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been there from the very beginning or just recently joined, I really appreciate your love and continued support. Also want to give a huge shout out who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notification to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to either catch it live or catch it on the playback. Now, as you can see by the thumbnail, the topic for tonight is how to deal with grief during the holidays, which is something that unfortunately we all have to deal with at some point because of the fact that many of us have, if not already, or experienced the loss of a loved one, whether it be a spouse, whether it be a parent, whether it be a child, whether it be a sibling, a relative, or even a close friend. So usually the first holiday after a loved one passes away is very bittersweet indeed. So I'm just going to give you some food for thought and some things that for you to consider. Also, I'm going to share some of my own personal experiences as well. Now, before we get into the topic, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. First of all, let me just state that, first of all, those are us who are content creators, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on Instagram or Twitter or what have you. I mean, we have the privilege of being content creators and produce content. Now, of course, each one of us has free reign as far as what to produce, how to produce, and how to govern our content. Okay. With that privilege, there's also responsibilities that go along with it. Among those, making sure that you are in full compliance with the community guidelines, okay? Because the problem is if you fail to do so, depending on the nature of the offense, either your content can be deleted or your channel can be deleted, okay? Now, of course, people will do whatever they wish on their as far as their content is concerned. But I would strongly recommend that if you have any personal issues or you have personal things going on in your life, um, do not air them on your platform. Okay. Because first of all, there's certain things that should not be discussed. Okay. Number one. Number two, unfortunately, we're living in an age where those who are our ops would take any um, personal information or personal things and use it to weaponize against us. Okay. And to be perfectly honest, there's certain things that I'm sorry, the audience does not need to know. Okay. Now, I did share regarding my upcoming surgery, but it was with a purpose. It wasn't a purpose to, first of all, to share as an encouragement, and for those who are in similar situations, that hopefully by listening to my example, um, they will be able to approach their tending procedures with a certain amount of knowledge. That being said, there's certain things I'm not going to share here on my platform. Okay, those of you that speak with me outside, um, which is a small circle. Of course, some of you know about my personal situations, things of that nature. But I am not going to air my dirty laundry here on this platform. If you choose to do so at your own risk. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is this. Ever since we have the results of the election, there's been a lot of chatter here on social media regarding people cutting ties with people, with loved ones, with friends and spouses over the politics, and specifically regarding the individuals who they voted for or if they chose not to vote. Okay. Now, last week, my friend April Showers had a discussion regarding this topic and how it's foolishness. Okay. I mean, we can disagree, but we can be respectable when we disagree. Unfortunately, we're living in an age where people are not able to discuss their disagreements in a mature manner. And it's gotten to the extent that people are not attending Thanksgiving dinners. People are uninviting guests. Okay. People are cutting ties. People are talking about divorcing their spouses. And all stem regarding who they voted for. Now, one thing I did state, and I'm going to repeat it again. Okay. The foolishness behind doing that is the following. Being that tomorrow is not promised to anybody. Okay. When you decide to cut out a person because they decided not to vote, or they vote and they didn't agree with you as far as their candidate is concerned. Okay. What if heaven forbid that person passes away? Okay. What if heaven forbid that happens? That means because of the fact that you were unable to deal with disagreements in a mature way, to the extent that you cut these people off and then these people pass away. You have no opportunity to be reconciled to these people. And let me tell you something. The guilt that is attached to that, knowing that someone passed away because of something as stupid as the outcome of an election, that's pure insanity. Okay. Now, I have friends who disagree with me regarding who I voted for. The difference is we're able to discuss as mature adults. Okay. And I'm not going to cut ties with anybody simply because we disagree regarding who should occupy 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We're just going to say we disagree. Okay. And in fact, I'm going to be devoting a stream regarding this on this platform on Thursday. And the topic is going to be the uncivil war. Okay. And I'm going to be discussing this very topic in detail. Now, what I'm going to ask, particularly if there's any of my friends that are who voted for Trump, they're welcome here, providing they're able to discuss what we disagree with in a mature way. Okay, I am not going to allow anyone that cannot engage in the discussion while getting emotional, because they will be booted off the panel. Okay, I mean, let us be agreeable when we disagree. Okay, that's something that many people, it seems like a lot of people have lost, and particularly if you take a look in TikTok, especially, where 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks since the election when came down, that people are still upset and still talking about disassociating themselves because one person voted for Trump and the other person voted for Harris. Okay. Can we all get along? Seriously, can we all get along? And you mean to tell me that your disagreement regarding who should occupy 1600 Pennsylvania is more important than your spouse, is more important than your parents or your children? It's, it's a sad commentary. Okay. That's all I'm going to say on that. And if you're really going to, so to speak, cut off ties just because they voted for someone else, then you need deliverance. You need healing. You need counseling. Okay. The majority of my friends voted the same way that I did. I have friends who voted for Trump. I'm not going to cut out that. I'm not going to cut out ties to them. Are we going to disagree? Yes, we are. Okay. I'm not going to cut off ties to those who voted for a third-party candidate. I'm not going to cut off ties with people who didn't even bother to vote. You know what? That was your choice, and I respect the choices of others. And I just wish that people can become more civil when we disagree. But it is what it is. So now, without further ado, we're going to get into the main topic. Now, before we get into the main topic, let me just state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. So anyone is invited to hit the link and express their point of view regarding the topic. Again, as always, if I've never seen you before, or if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one does not flash anything inappropriate, which will cause the people of YouTube to take down the stream. Okay. Now, let me just give you my own personal take. Okay. In more than 30 years, I would say close to 35. Okay. I have witnessed the loss of both my parents, four of my siblings, and two of my nephews. And that's not even counting cousins and uncles and aunts and things of that nature, or grandparents. And I can tell you for personal experience, the first set of holidays after you lose a loved one is bittersweet indeed. Okay? Because you're thinking about the fact that this person is no longer there physically. Okay. And to be perfectly honest, I think one of the roughest years that I had to deal with was in 2020. Okay, because first of all, in the beginning of the year, I lost my older sister, and then 6 months later, my mother passed away. And then on top of that, we were in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. Which meant that I was not physically able to gather with the family I have left. Okay. Now I was able to spend some time with one of my siblings for a while. But for the rest of the evening, I spent it alone. Okay. And when it comes to New Year's Eve, I mean, basically, I had to watch my family via Zoom. Okay. So it was a difficult time. And one thing we have to accept is that everyone deals with grief differently. Okay. There are people that are very emotional. There are people that are very outward. There are people who are reserved. Okay. One thing we all have to bear in mind, and I've said this quite a few times, there is no expiration point for grief. Okay. And you shouldn't be expected to just to just artificially say today I'm not going to, I'm just going to go forward. I mean, look, we all have to go forward, but every now and then there are days where it can be painful dealing with the loss of a loved one, and there's going to be days that you're going to cry. And you shouldn't be ashamed to do so, okay? And I know that with men, okay, we're taught not to be emotional. We're taught to be stoic and things of that nature. But men have feelings too, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share an article to help us to deal with better, okay? And these are certain things that will help us to deal with grief, okay? I'm just waiting for, okay. So I saw this article at the Baylor University website. And as you can see here, the article is called Coping with Grief During the Holiday Season. So they suggest some strategies to help us to deal with grief during this time period. Just give me a moment. So the holidays are typically a time of joy and celebration for most people, but this time of the year can be very different for grieving people. The death of a loved one can be especially hard during the holidays as they are full of memories, traditions, and sensations associated with the holidays. All remind us that this year is different and someone is no longer here. What can someone in the midst of grief do to make this time more positive and step forward toward emotional healing? Okay. William G. Hoy, Doctor, okay, I'm not too sure what, doctorate, clinical professor and associate director of medical humanities, and Candy Can, PhD, associate professor of religion in the Honors Pro College at Bayer, says that these strategies for grieving people who to cope with their loss during the holidays. Holidays are also hard in grief because they're built around relationships, Hoy said. Family gatherings cannot be ever the same now because memories of bad relationships cause us to realize the past cannot be changed. First of all, acknowledge your pain. The first step is to admit the pain of grieving. Saying goodbye to a loved one is no easy task, and undoubtedly it feels different than you could ever expect it, said Hoy. Kant pointing out that some deaths bring about complicated grief if the loss is from a difficult relationship. It is okay to feel relief in addition to grief, and it's important to validate all your feelings. It's a complicated grief because it was a complicated relationship. Good evening, Irby. How are you doing tonight? Thank you very much for stopping by. The topic for tonight is how to deal with grief during the holidays. Okay. So I'm just sharing, some information that may help us. Also, I was sharing some of my own personal experience dealing with going through the holidays after members of my family passed away. I said that cultural people tend to try to get around the pain without facing it, which only makes it harder later on. There's an empty chair at the table on this special occasion. The grief following the death of Saul in every turn, with the reality that they will not be returning to the table. Because holiday grief is so painful, there is no need to try to escape the pain this holiday season. Taking care of yourself. Self-care is vital during this time, said Khan. She encouraged grieving people to stay active, eat healthy, go outside, to be in nature, and get enough sleep. Sounds like a good idea. It's totally normal to need more sleep when you are depressed and grieving. You just have to be gracious with yourself about that, she said. While added, remember that grief is very tiring, and even under the best circumstances, holidays are very taxing. Give yourself permission to turn down invitations or leave parties early. In addition to taking care of your physical health, can recommend staying engaged in your community or church. Being in community with others is very beneficial for your mental health. At the same time, be honest with yourself about what you want to do and accept only invitation or participate in activities that you feel you can handle, said White. Evaluate traditions and embrace memories. When holidays arrive, many people want to change everything about the holidays to avoid the sad feelings, said White. Both he and Ken suggest evaluate family traditions, choosing those traditions that are most important to continue, and including the dead through new traditions. Don't forget to embrace the memories of past holidays and special events as you face this season. Or he said, we cannot have things like they were, but we can hold on to our hearts the memories of days gone by. You may want to light a special candle or purchase a special holiday decoration and hang it in your loved one's memory. A lot of people feel when a person's gone, the love is gone too, but the love is still there, Ken said. You wouldn't feel the grief or the big hole that you now have if you didn't have all this love in the first place. She suggests embracing the presents by including a place at the table for the Christmas they're making, their favorite recipe, or many other ways to continue the bonds and positively remember the dead in your life. By doing these things, you're including them in your conversation and making the space for that person, both literally and symbolically. How to support someone who's grieving. Being supportive of someone grieving requires patience and vulnerability. Engage with the person and ask them how you can best support them. Cancer. Let them know that you're thinking about them and during this time. A lot of people don't want to bring it up because they don't want to make people sad at a joyful time. Cancer. But the point is they're already so sad, so bringing it up allows them to express it and feel accepted in their pain. But I said, remember that there is no set timeline for an individual grief journey. It is important to remember not all grief is related to death. There are many types of loss people experience, such as divorce or disease. We cannot decide or predict what defines another person's grief, but we can offer love and support. Approaching the holidays when experiencing grief of death, loved one, or a deep loss may be painful at first. But first, these strategies can help us to face the future by celebrating with gratitude what we had in the past. And these are the two authors of the article, and we're going to park it here. Okay. So some of the, like I already discussed earlier, there is no time stamp for grief. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, you can be grieving about someone even 5 years or 10 years or 20 years after their passing. Okay. Just bear in mind that everyone's pain is different. Okay. Now, I recently reached out to someone that experienced a loss in their life. And first of all, of course, what I said was, well, look, I understand that you're going through loss. First of all, I just want to say that I'm truly sorry for your loss. There's nothing I can say or do that can take away the pain, but please rest assured that you are in my thoughts and my prayers. And basically, anyone that's grieving, these are words that people want to hear. Okay. Particularly when it comes time for the holidays. Okay. Because when we think of the holidays, what we think about? We think about good times. We think about food. We think about presents. We think about experiences, positive experiences. Okay. So when you're dealing with the loss of a loved one, and going through the holidays can be very difficult. And what you need to do is you need to give yourself some grace. There may be certain activities that you may decide not to engage with. Those who love you, those who are there, will understand that. Okay. And they will not try to pressure you. Okay. I know that the first holiday, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, after a loved one passed away, it's always difficult. Okay. First of all, not only are you dealing with your own individual grief, but also you have other members of your family, and all of them are dealing with grief in their own unique way. Good evening, Don Armando. Thank you very much for stopping by. And let me just state for the record that my friend Don Armando has his YouTube channel. So I'm going to ask that you show some love for him and check out his content and subscribe to his channel. So for those who are coming in now, the topic for tonight is how to deal with grief during the holidays. Those are us that lost loved ones can tell you that the first Thanksgiving after someone passes away, or the first Christmas after someone passes away, or the first Hanukkah, or the first Kwanzaa, or even Three Kings Day after someone passes away, it is bittersweet. Okay? Because we're thinking about that person's not there. There is a void. Okay? And again, we have to be mindful that there is no timestamp for grief. Okay. But what we do when we tell people to snap out of it, when we tell people that it's time to move on, okay, we're not doing anyone any favors, okay? We have to bear in mind that everyone grieves differently. Everyone responds to grief differently. Okay? What we can do is offer our love, offer our support. And of course, let them know that if they wish to approach them, if they wish to have a conversation, they are there. At the same time, if they choose not to have a conversation, we have to respect their boundaries. Okay. So share another article. Okay, now let's just make sure. And again, it's going to be dealing with grief. And of course, the question is, why are you discussing it? The reason why I'm discussing it is that there are people out there who have lost loved ones this year. There are people that are still grieving the loss of loved ones from a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and so on. And for some people, their grief is just as fresh as it happened today. That is the reality. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, so this is another website called Vitas Healthcare. Okay, so nurses, and of course, it's dealing with coping with grief during the holidays. And of course, there's a couple of questions. Who's going to carve the turkey this year? Grandpa always did it. I don't have the energy to decide to shop, decorate, or visit others this Christmas. I just want to erase Hanukkah this year. I feel too empty without my husband to celebrate. Natural reactions to how you deal with grief. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Ramadan, Kwanzaa, and New Year's Day can be very difficult holidays for people who experience the death of a loved one. Very true. Memories serve as a constant reminder of loss. Watching others celebrate can be painful and overwhelming, particularly in the first year after the death. Survivors must learn to develop new holiday rituals and traditions. The first step in coping with grief at the holidays is to acknowledge that the first holiday season is difficult. You can prepare for it by making specific plans and obtaining the support you need. Remember too that sometimes anticipation of a holiday can be more difficult than the day itself. Now, here are some tips um, to help you to deal with coping with grief during the holidays. Set realistic expectations for yourself. Remind yourself that this year is different. Decide if you can still handle the past responsibilities and expectations. Examine the tasks and events of celebrating and ask yourself if you want to continue them. Accept others offer to cook, shop, decorate, etc. Consider shopping by phone, internet, or catalog this year if you feel you need to avoid crowds or memories. Surround yourself with people who love and support you. Share your plans with family and friends and let them know of changes of holiday routines. Memories can sometimes be a source of comfort to the bereaved, so share them by telling the stories or looking at photo albums. Despite the temptation, try to avoid canceling the holiday. It's okay to avoid some circumstances that you don't feel ready to handle, but don't isolate yourself. Make some time for solitude, remembering, and grieving, but balance it with planned social events. Allow yourself to feel joy, sadness, anger. Allow yourself to grieve. It is important to recognize that every family member has his own unique grief experience. No one way is right or wrong. Experiencing joy and laughter during a time of grief does not mean you've forgotten your loved one. Draw comfort from doing others. Consider giving a donation or gift in memory of a loved one. Invite a guest who might otherwise be alone during the holidays. Adopt a needing family during the holiday season. Take care of yourself. Avoid using alcohol to self-medicate your mood. Try to avoid the hustle and bustle of the holiday season. Physical exercise is often an antidote for depression. Writing a journal can be a good outlet for your grief. Give yourself permission to buy something frivolous and indulge it just because. Create a new tradition or ritual that accommodates your current situation. Some people find comfort by honoring traditions where others find them unbearably painful. Discuss with your family the activities you want to include or exclude this year. Some examples of new rituals and traditions include announce beforehand someone different will cook the turkey. Create a memory box filled with folders of your loved ones or memory notes from family members and friends. Ask your children to contribute drawing in the memory box. Make a decorative quilt using favorite colors, symbols, images, or pieces of cloth or fabric that remind you of the person who died. Light a candle in honor of your loved one. Put a bouquet of flowers at your holiday table for your loved one. Visit the cemetery and decorate the memorial site. Have a moment of silence during the holiday toast to honor your loved one. Place a commemorative ornament on the Christmas tree. Dedicate one of the Hanukkah candles in memory of the loved one. Write a poem about your loved one and read it during a holiday ritual. Play your favorite one's favorite music or favorite game. Plan a meal with your loved one's favorite foods. The most important thing to remember, there's no right or wrong way to celebrate the holiday season after the death of a loved one. The best coping mechanism for the first holiday season to plan out, get support from others, and take it easy. And we're going to park it here. So as you can see, there's certain things that we all can do to help us to cope with the grieving process during the holiday season. Okay. And again, we have to be mindful of the fact that there is no right way nor wrong way to grieve. Okay. The thing to bear in mind is that we must avoid being judgmental. We must avoid um, trying to stifle their grief. And one of the mistakes that we sometimes make is say that we understand what they're going through. No, we don't. No, we don't. Because again, everyone deals with grief differently. Okay. Some people are very emotional. Some people are very they demonstrate themselves. Other people they don't, and we have to respect that. Okay. What we can do is to give our love and our support. Okay. And there might be certain things, there might be certain customs that they may wish to avoid. There may be certain customs that they may wish to embrace. Okay. They need to be given the freedom to abstain from whatever activities that they would prefer not to do and to partake of those activities that they wish to do. Okay. And first of all, I just want to say that to all those out there in the audience, whether it be live or those who will watch this on the playback, let me just state that I want to give you my most sincere condolences if any one of you had experienced the loss of a loved one, whether it be recent, whether it be within the last couple of years or what have you. Okay. There's nothing that I can say or do that's going to take away your pain. But please bear in mind that I will keep all of you in my thoughts and my prayers as you go through your grieving process. And it's my sincere hope and prayer that as you go through your grieving process, that in your own individual way, find some sort of closure, at least to the point where remembering their passing will no longer be painful. Okay. But it's a part of the life process. And as we get older, um, we're going to deal with death more frequently. Okay. Uh, we'll have to deal with the passing of our parents. We will have to deal with the passing of our siblings. We will have to deal with the passing of our spouses. We will have to deal with the passing of our close friends and relatives. And when you get to your senior years, your golden years, so to speak, um, we need to look after these people, okay? Because as they get older, um, they become more susceptible to illness. Um, they will begin to decline physically. They may decline mentally. They may decline as far as their cognitive skills are concerned. Okay. and just be there to show that love and support that they need. So, and truth, as I stated before, it's never easy to deal with the loss of a loved one during the holiday season. I have dealt with it for a long time. The first year that I had to deal with, the first loss I had to deal with that I really was fully aware, when my oldest brother passed away at age 37, 24 years ago. Correction, 34 years ago. Okay. That was in 1990. Then 7 years later, I had to deal with my nephew's passing, particularly in light of the fact of the nature of his passing. 97. Then 5 years later, my father passed away. Okay. And believe me, the first Christmas without my father was rough. Then less than a year and a half later, my younger brother passed away. So his passing, so first Christmas without him was rough. And then the following year, my older brother passed away. So it's like, so the cycle continues again. That I had to go through another holiday without a loved one. Then 4.5 years later, in 2020, I lost my oldest sister to stage 4 lung cancer. Okay. And then 6 months later, and while I'm still grieving her loss, my mother passed away. So 2020 was particularly rough because I was hit with the death of 2 loved ones, plus being in the middle of a pandemic. And then this year, my nephew passed away at age 48. So I'm going through another holiday season without my nephew. Okay. How do I deal with it? I take it one day at a time. Okay. Now, are there days where I get emotional? Yes. Are there days when I cry? Yes. Okay. I took my mother's passing very hard because I was very close to my mom when she passed away. In fact, let me just give me a moment. Okay, excuse me. So those are my angels. Those are the angels of our family. On the upper level is my oldest brother, my nephew, my father, and my younger brother. And then below that is my older brother, my older sister, my mom, my nephew. So I've gone through several years that I have to deal with a holiday season, well, the presence of one of my siblings or one of my relatives. Okay. How do I do it? By the grace of God. Okay. And also the fact that they will want me to continue and just continue living my life in a positive way. So that's how I deal with it. Okay. Now, I have been talking for almost an hour. So let me just state for the record that the link has been pinned. Sure, anyone wishes to hit that link and express their thoughts regarding the topic in hand, they can do so. If people want to add any comments, they can do so as well. If no one wishes to hit the link and join the panel, or if there's no one making any further comments, then I will start to wrap it up. Okay. And truth be told, this is not an easy topic to discuss. And I'm sure there are people that prefer not to discuss this topic, but it is a reality that sooner or later we will have to deal with the fact that we're going to be spending a holiday season without your loved one. And if you live to be my age or live to be older, you would have gone through this several times. And again, let me make this perfectly clear. There is no right way nor wrong way. What I do hope is that I gave you something to consider as you go through the approaching holidays without your mom or your dad or your spouse or your child or your sibling or your relative. Okay? And be good to yourself. And how you be good to yourself? Make sure you get your sleep. Make sure you eat 3 meals. Make sure that you have some wholesome activities to participate. There might be certain rituals that you would prefer not to do, or there might be new rituals that you wish to do. Okay? I just gave you some things to consider. Okay. Now, let me just give you a highlight on what I'm going to be discussing this week. Now, tomorrow on Latina Diaspora, I will be discussing how Latino observe the holidays, particularly Christmas. Okay, because we do have certain traditions, certain beliefs that's unique to us. So it'll be a good idea that you can learn about it, because maybe you might be invited to spend part of your holiday season visiting a Latino family. So it will help you to know what to do so you won't feel out of place. Of course, Thursday, again on my main channel, I will be discussing the topic, the uncivil war. And I'll be discussing the sad situation where people are being uninvited to attend functions, when people are being excommunicated, so to speak, all because of who they decided to vote for or because they decided not to vote. Okay. And that, and again, I struggle with that concept. Yeah, my sentiments exactly. Okay, my sentiments exactly. And look, I have friends of mine who voted for Donald Trump. I have friends who didn't vote at all, or they voted for a third party candidate. I'm not going to cut off ties to them simply because we disagree on who should occupy 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Can we discuss it? Yes. As far as the why, and some people voted for, okay, some people voted for third party candidates. It's a form of a protest. I mean, you are entitled to vote whatever way you wish. Okay, you see, that's the, you know, that might be healthier that way because unfortunately nowadays people are not able to have a civil discussion when it comes to politics without getting emotional. And really, if you take a look at TikTok, it's chock full of people who are making comments saying that they're not going to go to Thanksgiving dinner because a family member supported Trump, or a family member supported Kamala Harris, or a family member did not vote, or a family member voted for a third party candidate, what have you. Folks, the election is over. The country has spoken. Donald Trump, barring anything, any health issue, is going to become the 47th president of the United States, and we're going to have to deal with him for 4 years. That is the reality. Um, Time will tell how things will operate. Okay, but I'm sorry, but this whole notion that slavery is going to return, that I mean, that women are going to be raped, whatever, that their health benefits are going to be taken away, uh, that is extremely premature. And truth be told, we don't know what's going to happen. I will say this much. If Kamala Harris was elected president, things would not be that much different. Now, I know that this is a disappointment to those who supported Kamala Harris, thinking things are going to be different. No. And let's keep it a buck. What determines who becomes president is the electoral college. And in all fairness, we don't have a clue how people become a member of the electoral college. So really, what's going to happen next month? Um, they go, they're going to have a joint session of Congress. The vice president, which is Kamala Harris, is going to ask each state as far as who gained what votes. And she's going to have to announce the fact that Donald Trump received 312 electoral votes and she received 226. And that for Vice President, J.D. Vance received 312 electoral votes. And Tim Walz received 226. Okay. The new Congress will begin, I think. Good evening, Georgia. That too. Donald Trump became the first Republican since George W. Bush to win both with the Electoral College and the popular vote. Now, I know that this is a disappointment for many people, but that's the reality. Okay. But I have a feeling what's going to happen is you're going to have certain individuals that are going to moan and gripe for the next 4 years regarding the outcome of the election, talking about, well, Donald Trump is a felon, Donald Trump is a crook, Donald Trump is this, Donald Trump is a racist, blah, 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 blah. The fact of the matter is, he's going to be our next president. Okay? I mean, look, let me tell you something. Donald Trump got over 40% of the vote in New York. So it could have been, so does that mean that New York and California become purple? I don't know. But we shall see. Nevertheless. But before I go, let me just state that my friend George R. has his YouTube channel, which he produces a lot of wholesome content. So I'm going to ask you that you show some love to him and subscribe to his channel as well. So, yeah. And it was basically more or less the same situation in New York as well. You're quite welcome. And again, folks, the country has spoken. Okay. Now the thing was, when I was in San Diego, I had to share my room with a Trump supporter. I just kept it simple. Look, let's try not to discuss politics in our room. Okay. And as I said last week, to my fellow Harris supporters, let us be gracious losers. Now I see here that we have a guest. So let me just state for the record that the views of those who appear on the panel are not necessarily those of the host. Any attempt to copy the material without the consent of the host is prohibited. By appearing on the call, you may revert to your image. Some of the views that people hold may be considered offensive to some viewers. If you do not like the content, you can block the channel. And now we're going to bring in our guest. Good evening, George R.
Hey, good evening, Jose. I know I'm a little bit late to the game.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well today, and I hope that you've been doing great too.
Fine. I was just talking about how to deal with grief during the holidays.
Realize that you are not really truly alone when you actually have the great one beyond who is always there with you, regardless of, like what's going on.
That's very true, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime.
So, do you have any thoughts regarding the topic?
Oh, that was pretty much my quick thoughts on that issue, though. But I get that, not everybody is going to exactly share, like, like our beliefs and values. But that's honestly what I can really think about, to be honest, though. And I don't really feel that I know a whole lot about how to properly cope with that,
Well,
to make a
for,
statement about that. But yeah,
yeah,
but go on.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, I have to deal with that quite a bit um,
Mhm.
in my lifetime.
Yeah, and I mean, and frankly, though, I already do have like a community and more than enough folks to like speak with in case like there are times where I'm feeling very low or just feeling like I have to grieve. So it's hard for me to, relate to maybe somebody who may be in a very different position than me, who may not really have the right coping skills to deal with that. And I don't really want to mislead anybody. But you probably can offer more of a professional opinion than I could on that.
Well, one of the things that I have said, and I'm going to continue to say, is that, and we just lost. Um, but I will say this much: there is no right or wrong way to grieve. Number one. Also, everyone grieves differently, and there might be certain things that you may not feel comfortable.
Sorry about that.
Um, no, it's okay. I was just sharing that there's no right, no wrong way to grieve.
Got it. But yeah, might want
Mhm.
to. But thanks for updating me on that though. But sorry, somebody called me.
It's okay. And there's certain things you can do. Mainly, you need to take care of yourself. Make sure that you get your rest. Make sure that you maintain a healthy diet. Try to engage in some sort of exercise to clear your mind. Um, you can also create new customs and things of that nature. And there might be some customs you try to avoid.
Yeah, there actually was something that I was thinking about. I guess on that related note, I mean, like what a person can do to also cope with grief during like this holiday season is that they could, you know, talk about and reminisce over their loved ones and kind of make that into a tradition and then sharing the memories and then also making like a favorite recipe or like whatever your loved one enjoyed at that time, or even maybe volunteer at maybe like a group or organization that supported them.
Mhm.
That could actually be something that's like feasible in terms of learning how to cope with grief during this holiday season. But it for sure is not easy, and I get how that's not considered to be enough to some people.
Well, actually, those are the things that I did discuss earlier. Those suggestions.
But yeah, because well, I'm not going to really say her name,
Okay.
but she was for sure somebody who was once prominent in my lifetime. But
Hmm.
she did not really have family during the holiday season last year, and it seriously caused her to hit rock bottom. And I know that, you know, probably our suggestions probably would not have really worked for her. So that's why I got a little hesitant about how I should answer that question because that's not really something. that I feel like I'm an expert in to really give people any feedback on.
Hmm. Gotcha. I mean, in all fairness, I don't consider myself an expert either. It's just that unfortunately, I had to deal with it more frequently than others.
Did you catch that? Okay.
No, were you trying to say something?
Yeah. I'm sorry. So I'll reiterate myself. What I said is that a couple of the folks that I knew who may not have coped with grief the right way during the holiday season, they would resort to very unhealthy coping mechanisms,
Hmm.
like pornography. Oh, I mean, cornography, I should say,
Yes.
or smoking a lot of weed,
Hmm.
getting very wasted, if you know what I mean.
Yes, to be under the influence of a substance.
Yes, or tendering a lot. So, if you know
Yes.
what I mean by that.
Yes, I get it. I mean, basically trying to
Yeah,
get some carnal desires fulfilled.
there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. And we already know those are some pretty terrible ways of self medicating.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I do have a great church community. They know me, they know my story, they know where I came from and everything, they know my face. I could easily go to them or call them or even my own pastoral counselor too, as well
Hmm.
as my family, such as my own mother, because we speak almost every single day, or my
Hmm.
auntie, aka my dad's sister, or his brother. List goes on. So I do have a pretty solid family foundation in terms of church family and even just blood family too.
Hmm.
So my way of just maybe coping with some holiday grief, also go to them and allow the Lord to use them as a vessel to reach me.
Yeah.
Because the Bible does say you should be in fellowship with the right people when things like this are happening. But I get that I'm not really able to give so much of like a secular advice about that other than the one that I stated earlier in regards
Hmm.
to honoring what your deceased loved ones or even your living ones, used to do or used to enjoy.
Yes. I agree. Um, today I reached out to someone that they experienced a loss. And of course, I start out by saying that I'm so truly sorry for their loss. There's nothing I can say or do that can take away their pain. Just
Right.
be mindful that that person is in my thoughts and my prayers.
Same. Well, I do actually thought of something else too that
Okay.
could actually help.
Hmm.
I'll give you a hint. Look at my picture.
Oh yes,
There you go.
your your friend there,
Say that again.
your friend.
There you go. That's about as secular as I can get, along with what I said earlier, and
Yeah.
specifically in Appaloosa, because they're gentle giants and they learn
Okay.
fast. So, um, go to Cooper if you need to grieve. And I would say, just let me know if that's relevant enough for the topic, Jose, because I brought up Cooper and I tried to keep him as relevant to this particular topic.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, no, I mean, this is not an easy topic to discuss, but it does need to be discussed because as we grow older, we're going to lose more and more of our loved ones.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know
And
something? Oh no,
yes,
sorry. Go on.
no,
You go ahead.
go ahead, please go ahead.
I felt that I was a bit rude when I interrupted Jose
No,
by
please
accident, but
continue. Please continue.
so a lot of the stuff that me and my mom and my brother talked about,
Yes.
um, and I think that this is just about what every mother thinks about, like when it comes to like, her kids and everything,
Hmm.
and how she's going to feel or how we're going to feel like when we're gone or when she's gone.
Yeah.
So usually mothers are thinking that, well, there is a lot less ahead of them than there is behind them. And they would love for us to be sure that we're going to have the proper grieving and coping mechanisms for whatever is about to happen. So, in a
Hmm.
way, it's kind of a message that mothers put out, like subliminally, to tell us that it's now really time for us to really start preparing for the inevitable.
Yeah.
And not to get too complacent because of how our days are numbered and because of how life is
Hmm.
very short. So,
Yeah.
what are we going to do when it's all gone? And are we going to cope the proper way? Because just as much as what Irby said, drugs and corn are recipes for disaster. Well,
Hmm.
Irby, how can we prevent all of that stuff from becoming a recipe for disaster when our loved ones, such as our mothers, are going to be gone? So, reasonable question.
Hmm. Well, I first of all, I have a will in place. So when it's my time um, to partake in the journey where there's no return, so to speak, um, there's certain things that are written down that's going to be done. Distribution of property, things of that nature. Um, I'm not going to go into all the details, but it's everything is written in black and white as far who's going to one that's going to be executing the will. Um, I'm going to make my final wishes known to my siblings, and should I get married before I partake of the journey where there's no return, she would be informed regarding my final wishes.
It's beautiful. It's always great to, have things like your wills or practice some level of stewardship, even some generational wealth too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, my folks, we do that too.
yeah. And I want to, I want my, when it comes time to my time, to be a celebration of my life, which, consists of multiple facets. Um, who knows when I will depart? Only God knows. But one thing that I've said to my nephews and nieces, when the last of us is present,
Hmm.
make sure you treat that person like gold because once that last member of my siblings are gone, that's it. And one thing that I prefer, please do not say any fake stuff about how I was so wonderful and how I was so great and how I was so whatever, but yet you didn't see fit to visit me when I was alive.
Yeah, I I mean, I'm not really going to put out, family dirt, out there in the open or air out anyone's dirty laundry, but let's just say um, people in my bloodline can also relate to that. Let's probably not really try to pretend
Yeah.
that you were always there or you were loving when there was a certain point in time where the person was very distant and not around
Yeah.
until stuff really started to hit the fan.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about banning people from coming to my funeral. It's just that, you know, I prefer not any fake flattering words be said on my behalf.
Yeah, I think that those wishes of yours should be honored and respected.
Hmm. Yeah.
Same here.
And yeah. And realistically speaking, out of the four of us that's left, as far as me and my siblings, um, based on age, um, me and my older sisters, maybe the next one to go. But then again, who knows? I might be the surviving sibling. I don't know. Only God knows.
Or if anything, what if you live to be as old as Billy Graham?
Yeah.
You know that. You know how old Billy Graham was, right?
Oh yes.
He was almost 100 years old.
Yes.
What if you live to be that old?
Well, you know, only God knows.
Amen.
Okay.
Yeah, because my 94-year-old grand auntie is still around. That's my grandmother's sister.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So yeah. Well, is there anything else you wish to add before I start to wrap this up?
Um. No, I think that we got out everything that we wanted to bring to the table, and I'm very grateful for this discussion, Jose.
Well,
Unless you want to pull me to the back room to tell me something.
no, I think basically we discussed what needed. Okay, yeah, actually, let's just have a brief, like a 5 minute back talk. Talk in the backstage.
For sure.
Okay, I appreciate it. Well, first of all, thank you very much for stopping by, and I'm gonna put you in the backstage.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. So don't go away. So maybe just give you my final thoughts. Um, the fact of the matter is, this is not an easy topic to be discussed. It's something that needed to be discussed. So hopefully, I gave you some things to consider. Uh, I'm gonna be live on my other channel tomorrow night at I think 9:30, where I'm gonna be discussing Latino customs regarding Christmas. So we're gonna have a little discussion about that. And on Thursday, we're gonna have on my main on this channel, I'll be talking about the topic, the uncivil war. The fact that unfortunately you have people who are disassociating themselves simply because of the fact that someone voted for somebody else. And again, we're going to discuss this, and hopefully we can avoid making that mistake. So, with that being said, of course, all of you are more than welcome um, to opine after the stream is over. Just keep it respectable. And of course, I'm going to end the same way I always end. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we'll be infected by their stupidity and method insanity. This has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron saying good night, be blessed, and